When a child is sexually abused, of course that's very, very horrible, but usually there is an end to that abuse. There might be some closure eventually. However, with child pornography, it can never be taken off the internet. People are downloading it and trading it all the time. The problem grows rather than gets smaller. And so that person feels continually victimized. It's almost too much pain to bear.
Those who were consumers of child pornography before the days of the internet considered themselves isolated, alone, aberrant. There was something wrong with them. They shouldn't have these kinds of interests. But with the advent of the internet, the problem exploded. Suddenly these same people discovered that they weren't so unique after all, that there were millions of men around the world with the same kinds of interests that they had, and that they suddenly were part of a global community. And so for the first time, they had the ability to trade images with people of like interest, trade fantasies, trade techniques, even in some cases trade real children. And a problem that we thought was all but solved, was all but eliminated, suddenly exploded.
It is unfortunate that many people, I still think, view, and I'm going to use the production of images of children being abused as a victimless crime. It is not uncommon to hear that even among members of the legal community. This is far from a victimless crime.
It's not like child sex abuse that happened in the past. Where the victim can, in essence, contain it in a box. They can then go to their therapist and take out the experiences and look at them and work on them and try and get over it and understand that it's in the past, because for these folks it's never in the past.
Oh, I think there's many more layers of harm when your image is on the internet, because even if it's in print and it's out, I somehow have a better sense that I can get those and get rid of them, burn them, get them. There's a limited supply. When it's on the internet, there's no limit, and it can go so many places so quickly.
We are in a culture where people get upset if they have a bad hair day. They get upset if your friend posts something on the Facebook page that doesn't show them on their best side or in a good light or something like that. And yet these images are those of someone in their most humiliating and degrading circumstances, where they are being so vulnerable and, with full display of the most disgusting and, nude, being raped, being sodomized.
They have survived things that no one even wants to hear about, much less live through on a daily or weekly basis.
Once it's online, there's no safe place, because every time I see somebody looking at their mobile phone, every time I see somebody looking at a computer, which is all around me all the time, I don't know if they're looking at me, if they're seeing at me, if they can get access to me.
If the photo didn't exist, she would be here. I feel that the added dimensions and layers on top of the actual rape was just too much. And every time she tried to get back up, it was either the photo showed up or she was in fear of the photo showing up. So she was living with that fear, and because she had all that trauma, any setback, all those feelings would come right up to the surface again. She hung herself on the doorknob in the bathroom.
It is an everyday, constant crime and feeds a constant fear about all of the thousands of other perpetrators out there that were interested enough to look at their images, and they may indeed want to seek them out and come find them. And this is a very rational paranoia, if you will, because they have concrete evidence that there are men, typically it is men, who are interested in them and interested in doing terrible things to them.
Every time she thought that somebody out there was looking at her picture, and all the men who were looking at her picture, it made her feel like she was being raped and violated over and over and over again. for these kids, it doesn't go away.
A man in his 60s was walking down the street, saw my daughter, fully stopped on the sidewalk, did a complete 360-degree turn, and watched her walk the entire way in to run her errand. The first thing that comes to my mind is that this is somebody who has seen her images.
Of the children who have been identified from these now more than 100 million images over the past 10 years, 3/4 of them have been prepubescent. 10% of them have been infants and toddlers. These are not photos of babies on a bath towel. In more than 3/4 of the photos, there is physical penetration of the child.
We are in a new era technologically, and that we're not going to see an end to this type of crime. If anything, sadly, it's probably proliferating.
So the world doesn't understand what it is. People, because it's misnamed, it's misunderstood, so dramatically underreported. Those who think about child pornography minimize it, think it's not that big a deal. I'm here to suggest to you it's a major deal. And while we've made great progress, we really need to wake up the world to what's happening to our children.